Hello, welcome to the Leverton on Everything podcast. I'm Leverton, and this is Everything, a podcast where I literally review everything, but to be honest, it's mostly television series and movies. And today, I'm going to review The Peacemaker, starring, or I guess it's just Peacemaker, starring John Cena and a bunch of other people. Including, what's his name? Tim something. But that's the second season. And I've only watched maybe, because it's not finished yet, but I've only watched maybe the first 3 episodes of the second season. So this review will mostly focus on the first season. And I'm just going to give you my general impressions of it. I really liked it, but I don't see why they made a second season because the whole story was wrapped up in the first season. Like, it's not about Peacemaker, who is Chris Smith. It's not about his like overall life. It's about like one incident in his life, and it's about the relationship between Chris Smith and his father, who is the White Dragon. So the White Dragon is sort of this super villain, evil Nazi type person, but also kind of a mad genius who invents like a pocket dimension and makes this suit and has like weird powers and stuff. So that's kind of like the subplot. And the main plot of the series is that there's this alien race called butterflies because they kind of look like butterflies, although they're more animated and they have like faces and they have like arms and legs. So there's this alien race named called the butterflies, and they've come to Earth from their planet because the planet was destroyed, and they basically discover that, or not destroyed, but there was like ecological devastation on their planet, and they discovered that people are headed in the same direction. So to try and prevent this, they're going to take over the world, so they can inhabit the brains of people, and when they do this, they're basically destroying the person. So basically, Amanda Waller, who is the leader of Task Force X, which is the Suicide Squad, she kind of creates this group and gives it the task of eliminating this butterfly threat. And so her her daughter is a part of this group, and it's actually a great cast because you have, and I've forgotten all of their names, but you have John Cena as Peacemaker. Then you have Vigilante, who's kind of like his sidekick. Then you have, I guess his name is John, who's kind of like an ops specialist, who's, the guy who's just behind the computer. And then Amanda Waller's daughter, who I forgot what her name is, but anyway, then you have Harcourt, who is like, the badass woman character, female character. Yeah, and Harcourt is not actually that well developed. She just is, brutally violent, and they set up some kind of like love interest between Chris or Peacemaker and Harcourt, but yeah, there's not much character to development there. The daughter, though, of Amanda Waller has a lot of development because it's kind of like about her journey into this kind of world of dark espionage and how she has to make like moral decisions, and at the end she actually chooses to remain in this world, and she has like a family life. She's married, and what I liked about that is like she's lesbian and she's married, and they do talk about it, but like her problems with her marriage are not because she's a lesbian. They're just regular problems with being married. And I think that and this is a good thing, in fiction we've kind of moved from the fact like, oh wow, a lesbian marriage, to like, yeah, it's a marriage, they have problems. So that is moving on in that direction like that. And that was very incoherent. But yeah, so basically in the second season they've broken up. But at the end of this season, the first season, she goes back to her wife. Um, yeah, and then you have Vigilante, who he is a psychopath, right? And he clearly doesn't read social cues at all. But the thing that's great about the character is that he's so eager, and he it's hard to describe it. Like, he has like morals, but in the end he doesn't really care. He would murder people, but he's just murdering people for uh, the good of humanity. And he says something like, oh, we were killing people, sometimes we made some mistakes, but you know and he is very competent as a sidekick. So Peacemaker and him are these assassins, right? And he has this whole thing where Peacemaker can't know his secret identity, and eventually Peacemaker finds out his secret identity. But like, he's really, really competent, but there's like a level where that stops, which is great because usually in such things, the the moral rectitude of the character overcomes any kind of problems that there are. And he's not a character of high moral rectitude. And the other great thing about this series is Eagly. So, Peacemaker has a pet eagle named Eagly, and I think for some shots it's a real eagle, but some shots they are like it's a little bit CGI. And there's like this dance number that begins the thing, and then there's like so usually you skip intros, but I think in this one you should watch all of the intros because it's great. So Eagly is like doing a little dance on top of some at the end, and he's getting his wings up to look more majestic, and he clearly has a personality, right? And I really, really like that. He was one of my favorite characters, and he has some like amazing moments in the second season too so far as well. I don't really like the plot so much of the second season, but it's only like episode 3 or something like that, 2 or 3. So we don't know exactly what will happen. Um, uh, so what about John Cena's performance as Peacemaker? I think that he does a really good job. He's really funny, and he plays dumb really, really well. So I think the main part about Peacemaker, the character, and it's interesting because he is from comics, but he was kind of abandoned in the 60s or something. So he was revived for the Suicide Squad movies. Um, and John Cena kind of like made the character his own. But he is really, really dumb. And he comes at the world from one particular perspective, which has been warped by his father, because his like famous line is, "I'll defend freedom no matter how many women and children I have to kill to do it," which I think comes from the comics as well. You know, but the thing I don't like about this series, and it's not just a problem here, but I don't know what the name of this trope is, but basically, John Cena is very charismatic, and you can tell why people would be attracted to that charisma, that that way of holding himself, being, but physically, he's not attractive. And on at least 3 separate moments, characters say, "Oh, you're so attractive," and they're not being sarcastic or anything. They're saying, "Oh, he's really attractive." So that is clearly just a little bit of food for John Cena's ego, because he's not attractive. He's like a man who was wrestling all his life, and charismatic, sure, but he's not like Brad Pitt or anything. He's not attractive. And then, as I said, the character, maybe he has a good heart and stuff, and he's on this like good moral direction, right? He's redeeming himself, and that's important, but he's not smart. And there is this one point in the series where one of the characters, Abayo, that's her name, Abayo goes, "Oh yeah, he's not," or maybe somebody says to her, he's not gonna fall for it. He's too smart. No, he's not smart. Whatever gave you the idea that he was a smart guy? He's good at some things, like killing people. He's really good at killing people. And his friend, Vigilante, is also really good at killing people. And he has this remarkably charismatic eagle pet for some reason. But those are the only things about him that are interesting. And his dad is this maniacal evil genius who created this pocket dimension thing. So I didn't like that, and I think I think John Cena has the Rock syndrome, where his brand kind of overrides the needs of the character. And so that prevents him from being a good actor, but it also makes him in demand. So on the one hand, from a marketing point of view, I think that he needs to push that John Cena, the brand, can't be labeled ugly and can't be labeled stupid, but it doesn't work for the character of Peacemaker. But that being said, I really, really liked the first season. It was a fun kind of one-off thing. I'm not really sure about the second season yet. So if you haven't watched it, I would give the first season a watch. Maybe like 7 out of 10. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.